Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 1, Arjuna's Grief. Arjuna's despondency of heart. This is a chapter that sets the surveying of the field of Kurukshetra. The battle begins. Arjuna is asked to be driven by his charioteer Krishna into the middle of the field. Know that the field now is our own mind. And the two opposing sides are ready for battle. And before this precludes, you have this scene of Arjuna asking to be driven by his charioteer, sunken in grief at the onslaught and the slaughter that's about to occur, asking why it's even necessary in the first place. So these are questions that we all have. I know my father had this question. Why is Krishna telling Arjuna to kill? Why is he telling him to fight? This doesn't sound like a spiritual guru to me. And this was the dilemma I had. I was so perturbed by it. For I was in a bias. But spirituality, it looked clean. It looked non-violent. It looked like a wandering monk. And this is what Arjuna's response is. This is what his excuse for not wanting to fight is like, wouldn't it be better to not engage in this warfare and to just live my life as a monk? You know, if I engage in this warfare, wouldn't the women, lose their way, give forth to unwanted marriages and progeny because of all the dead husbands? The Dharma becomes lost, and the world becomes plagued by the disharmony that occurs because of this war. Very valid arguments that I think our mind and the ego comes up with. Why am I engaging in this? Why am I studying this? Why am I doing this? And this is the pool of the heart, the real essence of the Gita in which we're getting into. So we begin with the chapter, with a brief meditation by Shankaracharya. And we'll just tuning in to the flow of the breath, slowly in and slowly out. About 4 to 6 breaths per minute. As we tune into the field of the inner Kurukshetra, the inner battle within us between the forces. We rest surveying the scene, like Krishna and Arjuna in the middle of the battlefield. So, brief introduction by Shankaracharya. O Bhagavad Gita, it was through thy help that Narayana, the Lord himself, brought enlightenment to Arjuna. Afterwards Vyasa, a sage of ancient times, incorporated thee in the Mahabharata. O goddess, through thy 18 chapters thou showerest the immortal nectar of the wisdom of non-duality, and destroyest man's rebirth in this mortal world. O mother, I meditate on thee. I salute you, O Vyasa, the possessor of great wisdom. Your beautiful eyes are large as the petals of a full-blown lotus. You have lighted the lamp of knowledge, filling it with the oil of the Mahabharata. I salute thee, O Krishna. Thou art the wish-fulfilling tree for those who take refuge at thy feet. Thy one hand holds a staff for driving cows, and the other is raised, the thumb touching the tip of the forefinger, as imparting the divine knowledge. Thou art the milker of the ambrosia of the Gita. The Upanishads are as a herd of cows. Krishna, the son of a cowherd, is their milker. Arjuna is the calf. The supreme ambrosia of the Gita, the milk, and the wise man, the drinker. I salute thee, O divine Krishna, teacher of the universe. Thou art the son of Vasudeva, the giver of supreme delight to Mother Devaki, and the destroyer of the demons Kamsa and Chanura. With the help of Krishna, the 5 sons of Pandu emerged victorious from the battle of Kurukshetra. He acted as the ferryman on the terrifying river of the battlefield, of which Bhishma and Drona formed the high banks, Jayadratha, the water, the king of Gandhara, the blue lotus, Salya, the shark, Kripa, the current, Karana, the breakers, Ashwatthama in Vikarna, the alligators, and Duryodhana, the whirlpool. May the impeccable lotus of the Mahabharata, which grows in the water of Vyasa's words and destroys the sins of the Kali Yuga, of which the Gita forms the irresistible fragrance, and many noble tales of heroes, the stamens, which is enlightened by discourse on the Lord Hari, on which light, seeking its nectar, a swarm of black bees, the joyous men of piety, may that Mahabharata bestow on us the highest good. I salute Krishna, the embodiment of supreme bliss, through whose grace the mute become eloquent, and the lame scale mountains. I salute the Shining One, whose praise is sung in diverse hymns by Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and the Maruts, whose glories are proclaimed by the bards in the verses and chapters of the Vedas, whom the yogis see when their minds are absorbed in the contemplation, and whose limit is not known by the hosts of gods and demons. Aho. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 1. Arjuna's Grief. So, the story begins with the blind king Dhritarashtra being narrated the tale by his charioteer Sanjaya. For the king, he's very sensitive because he's blind, strong, but he doesn't want to see his 100 sons killed, and I think he has an intuition of the misfortune that will come. So he has Sanjaya, with a celestial vision granted to him by Vyasa, narrate the tale. So the blind king here is symbolic. It represents our ignorance that does not wish to see the supreme source in reality. The ignorance that doesn't want to see the truth as it is and would rather just be told, maybe even to just conceptualize the outcome, because it feels guilty. The blind king feels like it's his fault. The times when he saw all the misfortune of his son Duryodhana, the king of the Kauravas, when he should have stood up when he saw the misfortune, when Dhritarashtra should have stood up for the Pandavas when their wife was raped in the assembly of kings. We should have stood up at the misfortune of the game of dice that led to the Pandavas being in exile, to the 5 brothers being separated from their kingdom, from their universal sovereignty. He feels the guilt of this. So, that's too much for him to bear. He has Sanjaya narrate to him the tale. So we begin. Dhritarashtra says, O Sanjaya, what did the Pandus and my sons do when, desirous to fight, they assembled on the sacred plain of Kurukshetra? Kurukshetra is your own mind. The sons are now gathering to fight, and curiosity to know the outcome. Sanjaya says, on seeing the Pandava army arrayed for battle, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke these words. O teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu arrayed by your talented disciple, the son of Drupada. So the teacher of the Kauravas and the Pandavas is the martial artist and warrior Dronacharya, Guru Dronacharya. Drona means the pot born from the special vase, which is symbolic of a very solid body. A vase that can turn into celestial nectar, Amrita. So, he says, in that army are mighty archers and heroes that are equal to Bhima and Arjuna. So Bhima and Arjuna are one of the two main warriors of the Pandavas. And Duryodhana, who's fighting on the sides of the Kauravas, even while having animosity and speaking to his teacher, he still recognizes the strength of Bhima and Arjuna. Bhima means the wolf belly, because he eats a lot. He has a lot of strength, and he's the son of the wind. Arjuna, being the son of Indra, is very eloquent. He can shoot with his left and with his right, and is known for his artisticness as well as strength, valor, and courage. He's the main hero of this story, but also the one who's in grief in this instant. He says, I see Bhima, I see Arjuna, I see Yuyudhana, Virata, and Drupada, each a Maharata. Heroic Drishtaketu, Chekitana, and the king of Kashi, Puruji, Kuntiboja, and Shaivya, all the best of men, powerful Udimanya, brave Uttamaja, Subhadra's son Abhimanyu, and the sons of Draupadi, all Maharatas indeed. So he's acknowledging the strength of the army, that these are like the men of the men, the bravest men in the world, and recognizing them as Maharatas. A Maharata is one who can fight 10,000 foot soldiers alone. So all those warriors, Bhima, Arjuna, his son Abhimanyu, the king Drupada, which is their wife who was raped, Drupadi's father, heroic warriors, all of them he's naming. These are Maharatas who can fight 10,000 people single-handedly. So this is no small army here. This is a big fight, very big. And it's your own mind surveying the forces. Sanjaya says to the blind king, O best of the twice-born, let me recount to you the leaders of my own army, those distinguished amongst ourselves. I shall name them, that you may know them all. So Dronacharya is a twice-born. He's a guru working for the kingdom, but he's also of the Brahmin caste, which means he wears the sacred thread, and he's of an enlightened nature, which means that he's conquered immortality. He wills his own death, which is why Duryodhana is glad to have Dronacharya on his side, where he is well beyond a Maharata. He can kill tens of thousands of people single-handedly with his celestial weapons. So he says, Duryodhana recounting his army, surveying now his own forces. There is you, Dronacharya. There is Bhishma, the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty. There is Karna, his loyal best friend, and the son of the sun Surya. Kripa, who is ever victorious in war. Ashwatthama, who is Dronacharya's son. Vikarna, Jayadratha, and Somadatas. These are the great kings of Bharata, the kingdom and the empire that formed an alliance. So, and among these are many other skilled warriors, arrayed, armed with weapons, each well skilled in battle, and all resolved to lay down their lives to serve my cause. So you have the greatest of the kings of the empire, the kings of the various land gathered in this battlefield, ready to fight. So, but this army, as Duryodhana is speaking, this army of ours is protected by Bhishma, who Bhishma alone is, he has conquered immortality as well, and only he can will his own death. And there's an interesting story about Bhishma that in the later chapters, he cannot be killed by a man. He has this boon. Only a woman can kill him. And this was from a curse that he received from a princess named Amba, who was taken by siege by Bhishma in his early years and given to the dynasty king. But because Amba loved another man and was taken by force, she announced that to Bhishma, and she was sent back to Salya, who loved Amba, but because of the disgrace of receiving a woman who was already won by another man, he refused her. And because Amba's love, because her love was now refused, she gave up her life and was reincarnated as Shikandin, the son of the king of Virata, who is now on the side of the Pandavas, facing the opposing Bhishma. So while Shikandin is now a man externally, internally he is feminine. He is Amba, and it is only Shikandin who has the means to slay Bhishma. No other man can do it. Bhishma, so this gives Duryodhana confidence there, because Duryodhana doesn't quite know that Shikandin is Amba, but Bhishma, through his celestial eyes, sees that he will have to eventually encounter his death and his karma by facing Amba again in the form of Shikandin. So, but this army, Duryodhana says, protected by Bhishma is inadequate, and that army of theirs protected of Bhima is adequate. So what he means is that he's recognizing the power that the Pandavas have. Now, he addresses the troops. Everybody take your place among the field. Now take your proper place in front of the marshaled troops and protect Bhishma alone. He knows that if Bhishma, the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, is protected, who cannot die except by a female, he will be protected, because there's no other females there on the battlefield. Only Amba, under the guise of Shikandin, who took rebirth as a man to revenge the disgrace she felt when she was kidnapped by Bhishma and refused by the love of her life. She swore vengeance to the death to kill Bhishma. So the troops assemble, they blow their conchs, they assume the lion's roar, stirring up the pride of the people. The conchs, the kettle drums, the tabors, the trumpets, the cow horns, they suddenly blared forth, and the sound was stupendous. So this was all on Duryodhana's side, cheering with the drums, the musicians. Whereupon on the other side, Madhava, which is a name of Krishna, meaning the lover of the goddess of fortune, O Madhava. Madhava and the Pandavas, they're seated in their chariot, their magnificent chariot, yoked to white horses. They also blew their celestial conchs, the sound, the trumpeting of the sound, which represents the vibration of the ocean. The ocean now is the field of consciousness. The field is Kurukshetra, and the sound of that vibration is reverberating throughout space. And each warrior is proud of their might, proud of their energy, proud of their strength as they assembled on the battle. But wait, it's not done yet. Harishikesha, which is an epithet for Krishna, meaning the Lord of the senses, the guider, the director of the senses. He's the chief. He's the embodied form of Narayana, the divine one who lays upon the cosmic ocean. The ocean now is vibrating with sound through the blowing of the conch shell, which is the sound of the ocean. Harishikesha blew his conch. He blew the sound, called Panchajaya. Dhananjaya is another name for Arjuna.
It means victorious one. He blew his conch, called the Devadatta, which means victorious over the gods. Vrikodara, which is another name for Bhima, means the belly of a wolf. He blew his conch, called the Pandra. King Yudhishthira the Just, the elder brother and king of the Pandavas in the dynasty, he blew his conch, called the Ananta Vijaya, which means endless victory. So the sound and the vibration is a mudra. It's a gesture in space, each having its own symbolic meaning here. So the endless victory is the endless victory of the Dharma, which the king is now proclaiming through the blowing of the conch shell. Nakula and Sahadeva, the two youngest brothers, are blowing their conch, Sugosha and Mani Pushpaka. So now the great archer, the king of Kashi, the great warrior Shikandi, who I said is the son of Virata. Shikandi is actually Amba, ready to slay Bhishma on his body. Born for this. Born to slay Bhishma. And also Drishtadyumna is actually born to slay Dronacharya. These are people who they knew who they were born to kill. They knew who they were born to fight in the battlefield. This was destiny, fate. Drishtadyumna and Virata, the unconquered Satyaki, Drupada and the sons of Draupadi, and the mighty son of Subhadra, Abhimanyu. O Lord of Earth, each blew his own conch. So this is Sanjaya narrating to the blind king Dhritarashtra as he addresses him as the Lord of the Earth. Those great warriors on the Pandavas, they too were blowing their conchs, their celestial sounds reverberating with the ocean, ready for this great battle, ready to fight, ready to lay down their life. This is an epic scene. Grand, grand, grand. Wow, man. Wow. So, and that tumult, resounding throughout the heavens, resounding throughout the space and time, it rent the earth and the hearts of Dhritarashtra's followers. So the sound of the Pandavas was now so intense that it was uprising and uproaring over the sounds of the Kauravas. And it's like when you hear a lion's roar, it can strike fear into your heart when you see the confidence of your enemy. So this is what was going on. This is why Duryodhana addressed Dronacharya. We're dealing with a good army. We're fighting a good army. I can see even he was acknowledging his foe. So then, O Lord of the Earth, seeing Dhritarashtra's army standing in the battle array, and the clash of arms about to begin, Arjuna, whose symbol bore the device of a monkey, which is Hanuman. He bore the banner of Hanuman on his chariot, the symbol of devotion. Praise Hanuman, man. And he spoke to Krishna. So he addresses him here as Achyuta. Arjuna calls Krishna Achyuta, which means the changeless one, the one who never changes. Of course, the forms change, but Krishna is beyond the form, and Arjuna intuits this. I think his mind is starting to slip right now, but Hanuman's on his side. So, O Achyuta, Arjuna says, between the two armies, draw up my chariot, that I may behold those who stand there eager to fight, and may know on the eve of the battle with whom I must contend. Krishna here is his charioteer. He addresses him as Achyuta, the changeless one, and as a symbolic charioteer, which means that he guides by the reins, which are the intellect, the five steeds, which are the five senses, the chariot, which is the body. Arjuna, he addresses his higher self as mind. Guide me into the center of the battlefield so that I may see and survey the forces. I want to observe those who are gathered here to fight, he says. Let me see, desiring on the field of battle the welfare of the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Now we go back to Sanjaya as he narrates this to the blind king Dhritarashtra. He sees the chariot being drawn to the center of the battlefield. And the Gita is about to begin, the great story. So Sanjaya says to the blind king, O Bharata. Bharata, as in the Mahabharata, is the name of the empire of India. Before it became India, India was only a recent name given to the descendants of the Indus Valley, Hindu, India. So Bharata was the empire of the Aryan civilization. O Bharata, Sanjaya says to the blind king Dhritarashtra, thus addressed by Gudakesha. Gudakesha is an epithet, another name for Krishna, which means the controller of the sleep, conqueror of the sleep, conqueror of the darkness, conqueror of the ignorance, Gudakesha. Thus addressed by Gudakesha, Krishna, he drew up the excellent chariot between the two armies, facing Bhishma and Drona and all the rulers of the earth, and said, Behold, O Partha, all the Kurus here assembled. So he addresses Arjuna. Gudakesha addresses Arjuna as Partha. Partha means the son of Pritha, which is his mother Kunti, another epithet for the Divine Mother. So then Partha, which is Arjuna, he sees both sides of the army, arrayed in both of the armies, fathers, grandfathers, sons, uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, father-in-laws, teachers. And he's overwhelmed. Shit, what did I get myself into? This is more than I can handle. So casting his eyes on all these kinmen, stationed on the opposing side, the son of Kunti was overcome with deep pity and sorrowfully spoke. He said, Arjuna says to Krishna, his charioteer, loyal friend, loyal like Hanuman, his banner, his flag on his chariot being his body, his flag, the symbol of one's heart, devotion. Arjuna says to Krishna, O Krishna, at the sight of these my kinsmen, all my friends and relatives, my family, my friends, assembled here eager to fight, to give their life in battle, my limbs fail, I become weak, my mouth is parched, it's dry, my body is shaken, my hair stands on end, I'm frightened. My bow, Gandhiva, given by you, it slips from my hand, and my skin is on fire. I don't feel good here. I cannot hold myself steady. My mind is not at ease. I feel weak. My mind seems to whirl. I'm anxious. This can't be good. This cannot be for the good of the world. I only see evil, only negative omens. What good can come from this? He says, Nor do I perceive, O Krishna. He says, any good that could possibly come from slaughtering my own people in battle. I don't desire victory for this, nor an empire, nor pleasure. What good can come from killing my friends? Good argument. It's a good argument he's making. These, O Madhusudana. So Madhusudana means the slayer of the demon Madhu. Madhu is symbol of pride. So Krishna is the one who has conquered pride. These, O Madhusudana, I would not kill, though they should kill me. For even for the sake of sovereignty over the three worlds of heaven, the celestial world, the realm of form, the earth, and the nether world, Patala. So these are levels of materiality. So even for the sake of sovereignty itself over the three worlds, how much less for this earth? O Janardana, the destroyer of the demon Janu, who is another epithet for Krishna. I mean, Janardana is the demon of jealousy, which Krishna is known for slaying or conquering. O Janardana, what joy can be ours in killing these sons of Dhritarashtra? Sin alone will overcome us. It will possess us, even if we kill these people, these felons. He's laying a good argument. That I never heard of any text saying I need to kill these people. And I'm about to engage in a slaughtering, a warfare. Assembled on both sides are the mightiest of warriors, Maharathas on both sides, Adirathas. People who can kill 10,000 people with a single hand. And Arjuna is not willing to fight, fortunately. It's like, therefore, with this argument I just laid out, he says, I don't think we are to kill our kinsmen. I don't think that's a good idea, Krishna. I don't think it's a good idea to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, he says. For, O Madhava, how can we ever be happy by killing our own people? Would you make that same argument? I think so. I think you would make that argument. How could you ever be happy killing your own people? This is deep. Deep. He's on the verge. Kill or not kill? So he continues in his grief, laying out the argument on the battle. Though their understanding is overcome by greed. He knows Duryodhana is messed up. Fucked up in the head, man. Raped his wife. He says even though they're overcome by greed, and they won't give him back his kingdom. Even though their understanding is overcome by greed, perceive no evil in the decay of families and no sin in the hostility to friends. It means Duryodhana, the wicked king of the Kauravas, he doesn't see anything wrong with his actions. It's dharma and adharma. Both sides are feeling like they're the ones who are right. Why, O Janardana, Krishna says, should not we clearly perceive this as evil in the decay of the families? And knowing this, why not refrain? And we become the bigger man. It's a good argument, right? Good argument here. He's laying it out. He's pulling up all the hard-held beliefs we have that a good man is not supposed to kill. He's not supposed to slay. But Arjuna is a man. And Krishna is about to speak up to him. This is what is going to be said. So, Arjuna lays his last argument out. So if the family life is destroyed, and I fight, Dharma perishes, okay, which has existed from beginningless time. With the ending of the Dharma, my friend, adharma, unrighteousness, it overwhelms the whole family. Family life is destroyed if the men are destroyed. When adharma, unrighteousness, overcomes the family life, oh Krishna, then the women become corrupt. They start sleeping around. They start giving rise to unwanted progeny, children, kids. Becomes overpopulated. There's no order. The social system becomes lost. We enmesh into chaos. So this is Arjuna's argument. When unrighteousness, adharma, the opposite of dharma, overwhelms the women of the family, the family life becomes corrupt. And when, O Krishna, the women become corrupt, there arises a mixing of the system of caste. The social order becomes dissolved. Lines become blurred, and chaos ensues. So this mixture leads into the hell, into the anguish of the family life, as well as those who destroy it. So he sees himself now as being a perpetrator of giving rise to the destruction of society, the destruction for women becoming corrupt. He sees himself contributing to the slaughter of men. It's a good argument, right? Wouldn't you side with Arjuna on this? Come on, man. So, those who destroy this righteousness and give rise to adharma, unrighteousness, even the ancestors fall, for they're deprived of offerings. They're deprived of the rites. They're deprived of sacrifices. Deprived of food left out for the spirits. Rice balls, water, just a very traditional thing in Indian culture. You leave it out for the ancestors on special occasions. So, it says, by these evil deeds, the destroyers of families, would be me, I'm destroying, contributing to the destruction of the world, would result in this intermixture of unwanted life. The social order becomes destroyed, the eternal dharma is lost, and the family life is uprooted. Why am I doing this? So we have heard it said, O Janardana, this is the name of Krishna, that inevitably the man who destroys the dharma of the family structure, is destroyed himself and rests in everlasting hell, which is, he has no peace of mind if the family life is destroyed. Who is there to share a kingdom with then? Who is there to share love and prosperity, the joys, the conquering of the earth that you've received from this battle? If I kill everybody, who shall enjoy it with me? Good argument, right? So, alas, O Krishna, alas, we're sitting here resolved to commit a great sin, and that we are ready to slay our kinsmen, friends, and relatives, just to satisfy our greed to win a kingdom? Far better would it be for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, with their weapons in hand, should slay me in battle, unarmed and unresisting. Better if I gave up my own life and not fought and have them just kill me, than rather for me to kill them. And thus, Sanjaya narrates these words that are said by Arjuna to Krishna in the middle of the army, overwhelmed with grief, as he narrates this to the blind king, who too cannot see. Sanjaya says, Arjuna, Having thus spoken on the battlefield, he cast aside his bow, he cast aside his arrows, and he sank down on the side of the chariot, refusing to fight, and his mind overcome with grief. Help me, O Krishna. I don't know what to do. Thus, this ends chapter 1, the surveying of the forces and the words that arise from Krishna's mouth we will cover in chapter 2. And how is this argument that's outlaid by Arjuna going to be addressed? How is it going to be handled? So thus in the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the Upanishads, the science of Brahman, which Brahman is the eternal self, Sat Chitananda. Sat is existence. Chit, consciousness. Ananda, the infinite bliss. Brahman is recognition of this, which is what Krishna is embodied. The embodiment of Satchitananda, Brahman. And this is the essence of the scriptures, the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. This ends the first chapter, titled Arjuna's Grief. See you in chapter 2. This is a good argument now. How would you respond to this? How would you address this equation? Wouldn't you side with Arjuna on this battle? How can this be a spiritual text, man, right? If he's saying to kill everybody. Good questions. Good questions that should be brought up, man. Ask this stuff. People are about to die here. What should be done? What is the message that Krishna can convey to Arjuna, his disciple, in the midst of such grief and heart-strickenness? Perturbed. Mind not at ease. Don't you want to know? Let's continue. See you in the next lesson.